I'm going to flip through this deck, and I want you to see one card, and not this one. That's too obvious. Pay close attention. The closer you look, the less you see.
Performing magic on camera can be extremely difficult, especially when there is sleight of hand involved. But another animal completely is not when you're doing magic on camera, it's when you're doing magic for the camera. This is where you need to get creative, because your repertoire, no matter how big it is, will shrink immensely when there is a lens, a screen, and another screen between you and your spectator. You'll notice this if you've ever tried to perform magic over Skype. It's almost impossible to do any sort of meaningful trick that isn't just some flashy sleight of hand thing really quick. I actually made an attempt at this about 4 years ago when the Instagram video limit was 15 seconds, so I may as well just embarrass myself and show you guys. Cards like this, and your job is to see one card and memorize it. Think about it. What's the name of your card? John C. Oh boy. I mean, you guys remember that meme though? It was like you're just doing something random, you know, nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden, John Cena interrupts. John Cena! I mean, seriously, you guys had to have seen that one coming. John Cena! So the force I'm about to show you, it eliminates the necessity of any sort of physical interaction between you and your spectator. There is no pick a card. And I must say, if you guys want to learn more like this, I would definitely try and lead you toward one of my favorite magicians out there, Justin Flom. He does a lot of really cool interactive magic tricks when he's on TV, but you at home can also follow, and he's performing for you through the TV by giving you instructions and things of that nature. It's really creative and you should check it out. But circling back around to what I was originally saying, this force that I'm about to teach you is really, I would say, the only force that you can do through a screen, through a camera, to a spectator watching through their screen that actually feels fair. It's a visual force. So there isn't any, me doing a slip or riffle force on camera and then showing you, oh, I promise you this card I just pulled out, if it's pick a card, is your random card. That's awkward. This does seem completely fair, especially when the interaction isn't taking place in the same spot. So let's go ahead and learn it. This move is extremely simple. You will get it down in probably 1 or 2 minutes, and after that I'm going to teach you different ways that you can practice it in the mirror to make sure you have it down as foolproof as possible. Then after that, if you already know it, or if you got it down so quickly, stick around because I will give you some insight and advice on how to perform this trick properly to spectators so you don't get called out. Alright, so here's the main key to how the visual force works. Basically all that's happening is they're seeing the top card. That's the last card that flashes before their eyes. What you need to do to make that happen reliably is to make sure when you're riffling through the deck, you're gripping it with your thumb and 2 fingers down here, right? So it's like that. So your pointer and your middle are at the bottom, middle of the deck, and then your thumb is right here. That's how you're holding the deck. From here, you're gonna riffle with your pointer finger. As you notice, sometimes I hold it like that. Sometimes I curl in my fingers and hold it kind of like that. My back thumb is used to support this area of the deck, and it's also used to bow it forward. The reason why you bow it forward is so it's easier for you to make sure that top card stays in plain view for just a little bit longer than the others. So you hold it like this, you bow it forward, and you riffle like that. Now, there's a couple keys to make sure that they're seeing the top card. You don't want to make it too obvious, but if you just do it naturally, the top card should be the one that shows last, especially if you're bowing it forward. You straighten this out for a second. Here's a way to make sure they see that last card. Pay attention to the axis of where the deck is tilted. When I start, it's low, so if the spectator is looking straight on, they're not seeing any of these cards. No matter how fast or slow I go, they're just not seeing them. As I riffle through to the end, I bring it up higher and higher so that we start low and then we come up high, and then when the last one comes around, they're gonna see that 6 of spades. Another thing that's important is you're seeing that I'm riffling on this corner of the deck, not this one. That's because the pip that they're seeing is gonna be on the opposite corner. So you're riffling here, You start slow with the riffle, speed up, and then make sure on that last one, your finger just hangs there a little bit longer. Now this force is already sus, okay? Kind of like all forces, there's a little bit of sus to it. So you gotta make sure that you're making it as smooth and as easy as possible. It's like, hey guys, make sure you see a card, but not this one, the one at the bottom, okay? Now that might seem like a stupid thing you have to do, and no way anyone would pick a bottom card. But if you perform Magic for long enough, you'll know that even when you're just doing a simple pick a card, there will always be the people who grab the top or bottom card because they think that's just funny and that's gonna fool you. So please make sure that you tell them, hey, I'm gonna riffle through, and you're just gonna see a card, but not the one at the bottom, okay? So I'm just gonna riffle through like this. You start low, hold the deck like I told you, your thumb's gonna push the bow across, and you riffle with your pointer, and as you're riffling, you bring it up, it's a little bit exaggerated, so that they only see that last card. So let's get this in focus. See any card besides the 8 of hearts? I'm looking in my mirror, I'm looking in my LCD screen. Now it is reversed, it is mirrored, so hopefully I can still get it. And we do the force, and that was the 4 of clubs, I believe. The top card is, yep, the 4 of clubs. All right, so let's do this one more time. If you guys are practicing this at home in a mirror or in a screen like this, you wanna make sure you have it down 100%. Every time you don't know what the top card is, you guess right just by looking at the riffle because you're supposed to be seeing the top card. Okay, so now that you know the basics, ins and outs of the force and how to practice it, I'm gonna go over some pitfalls you need to avoid if you're gonna do this correct. First off, this should only be used in certain specific situations. Do not rely on this. If you can do really any other trick or force besides this, then do those, because what this does is even if you get it to be 99% reliable, there's always gonna be that 1% where you give the ability for randomness to take over your trick, something you can't control. For instance, let's say you do it for a spectator and they don't see a card for some reason, they just don't see one. Most of the time they're not gonna ask you to go again. They're just gonna think, oh, well, it was supposed to be a random card, and they're gonna think they saw one that they didn't see and just like make up the 5 of clubs. Now you're screwed, okay? So there is a small sense of randomness. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen. Now here's the thing, you can't avoid that randomness by making it extremely impossible for them to see any other card besides the top card, by making it not smooth and very, very obvious, okay? And I've actually seen some professional magicians do this on even America's Got Talent. I'm not gonna name names at all because I'm not trying to, it obviously worked for them, they're on America's Got Talent. What I'm saying is, yes, you can make this 100% reliable by going like, but it's very obvious. It will work on some people, but it is extremely obvious. So you should be able to get this to a point where it's 99% reliable, and that 1%, if it happens, just have a backup invisible deck. You know, the ones that are for sale on rise-magic.com/store. The invisible deck will help you bail out of any magic trick mistakes, because if you know how it works, it's just incredible. Plug aside, there is always room to make mistakes in any sort of magic trick. So obviously there's a risk going in. This just inherently has a little bit more risk. Also, this trick is not bulletproof. To 95% of spectators, they will not suspect a thing when you riffle it up, especially if you present it right. Like, hey, just see any card. Make sure it's not the bottom when you're seeing any card. Do it really quick, don't make a big deal about it, you know? But there still will be some people, I promise you, who will be like, whoa, that was just the top card. You know why? Because honestly, not that great of a force. That's why I would say avoid using it if you don't have to. It makes a lot of sense to do through a screen, performing for the camera, like I'm talking about right now. But in person, in almost all situations, you would just do a different type of card force. Like, let's circle all the way back to Now You See Me. Let's say that was a real thing happening and it wasn't a movie. Jesse Eisenberg would not have done this force. He would have done a much reliable classic force or riffle force or something like that to force the card, because he just did a whole skyscraper full of lights organized, you know what I mean? He put so much effort into that, he's not gonna let that 1% chance ruin it that the girl didn't see the right card. See what I'm saying? That was only because it was a movie, and part of the magic of the movie was that everyone in the audience saw the 7 of diamonds too. I haven't seen that scene in a while. I'm not sure if it's the 7 of diamonds. I'd be impressed if I'm right. But it's cool because all the laymen who are watching that movie in the theaters, they also saw the car that went on the skyscraper, so it worked for them too. That's why it was much better to do the visual force there for the movie's sake. But I'm saying if it was just a normal performance, he would not have done that because it's not that reliable. So after all that, why should you learn it? Well, as you noticed, It's very, very easy to learn. You can get it down, I would hope, in under a half hour to the 99% reliability rate. And then you can just have it in your back pocket. And then once that situation comes up where, oh my gosh, I can't interact with my spectator in the same room or in the same country, you're doing magic over Skype, you're doing magic with someone at a pool party who has wet hands, then, oh my gosh, you pull it out of your back pocket, that half hour you spent learning it, and bam, you forced them the card just perfectly, and it paid off. So it's something you want in your back pocket, ready to go, but it's definitely not something you want to lead with. This will save you from when pick a card is impossible. So that's the video for this week, guys. I know it wasn't something big, but I really think this is something that you should have, like I always say, literally in your back pocket, in your repertoire, so that when the situation presents itself, you're ready. All right, guys, that's the video for this week. More coming next week with some magic performances, and I will be hanging out with Grant all next week, so we'll make some awesome content together. I know the tutorial part of this was not that long, but that's why I try and add some insight from someone who's actually gone out and performed this stuff for years of what it actually means to go out and perform this in real life. Next week, I'm actually going to try and get some footage of me performing it in real life. Fingers crossed, because I don't really have a cameraman down here, so I'll just get creative. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, podcast coming soon. I'll see you next week. John Cena!